we are doing this for the love of the game, speaking of.
Yes.
And I know we were like super late, but hey, you know what? We're getting this out before it comes out tomorrow. Episode 8 comes out tomorrow. My favorite word, the penultimate. And I mean, this is like not wrapping up, but I mean, kind of maybe wrapping up before Last of Us hits.
Yeah. It's lined up pretty well. They knew what they were doing.
And they're like, did you see the Rotten Tomato scores coming for The Last of Us? Is hitting high.
Yeah. Do you know the Last of Us story?
Oh, do I know what's gonna happen?
Yes. Okay. All
Ah,
right.
yes. My oldest daughter has. I don't want to say maybe she hasn't played the game. I think she has played the game, but
She
it was
probably
enough
played
to when
one.
season 1 had come out. She was just like, "Girl, let me tell you about
Yeah.
season 2."
I played the first game. The second game, according to all the reviews, was terrible. So I didn't play the second game,
Right,
but I watched I watched someone else play it, so I
right.
know what happens. And
Yeah, because we discussed this. If you maybe I'll try to remember what time this exactly is when we're doing this. Or maybe I'll just wave my hands and try to find
there we
like
go.
when we did our top like what we were looking forward to in the series,
Yes.
the top 5. We did mention that because we knew what was supposed to happen in season 2, that whether or not it would happen at the beginning
Yes.
or towards the end, because of worrying about the fallout as far as if people stick around to actually watch
Yeah,
it.
I forgot we did have that exact conversation.
So it's like, ooh, like
Yeah.
we'll see, but we're very excited about this. But this right now is Daredevil Born Again, episode 7. And in this episode, we dealt with the danger coming straight to Matt Murdock's not doorstep, literally, but I mean, at
His
least with
girlfriend's doorstep.
yeah, his girlfriend's doorstep, literally her work doorstep.
Yes.
Um, her her therapy session with a certain Bastion did not go quite as well as probably what she had.
I mean, I guess you could say
And
there were some breakthroughs.
oh, literally at the same point, it's a window was broken through.
Right.
And and Kingpin, not Kingpin completely.
He's
Wilson
getting there.
discovers that his therapist also is being targeted.
Yes.
Um, so I don't know if he knows the connection between those two yet.
I don't think so. You would almost think that someone as important as him, not really as the mayor, but as a kingpin, would vet the people that they go to see. Because if you're going to a therapist, you're probably going to be very open and vulnerable. Even though it's none of his business, like legally, you would
Dating,
think that as a villain who likes his hands in things, would have done like a background check, like who is my therapist dating? Who are her friends?
yeah, exactly, especially as the mayor, right? Right,
Yeah.
just as the mayor in general. So Kingpin slash Wilson Fisk figures out that his therapist is being targeted. The police are second to the scene. Things don't go well for Muse, and Matt Murdock ends up in the hospital visiting yet another person close to him due
Yeah.
to, the Muse. I was a little surprised about how it ended, but we'll get to that later. But that is, I would say, do you think that's about what happened in 7? I mean, am I missing
Yeah,
it? There
that
was a lot
that's
of
pretty
fighting.
much well, and then one of the five families attempted
Oh,
to make a
yes.
move on Wilson, and then
Oh, yes. And we will discuss whether or not we believe his wife was setting him up without his knowledge, or whether or not Wilson Fisk, if they collaborated this hit together. So yeah, that's about the plot about 7. Again, it was, I think it was one of the shorter
40
episodes.
minutes.
Yeah, one of the shorter web, very action heavy. You will finally get your fix of some Daredevil fight scenes.
I did.
So compared to earlier episodes, how do you feel this one stacked up?
Honestly, I just need like a shirt that says I have mixed feelings because every week I say that. I thought it stacked up really well. You've got Daredevil at the beginning when he's talking about doing Daredevil stuff with his detective friend or acquaintance, you see him like smiling. Like there was just a joy about him at that point that I thought was creepy, but not really creepy because it's like like this is his true self. We talked about like their Matt Murdock and Wilson Fisk are like their persona, their true selves are Kingpin and Daredevil. I thought the action was great. It was interesting that he was having those fight scenes in the middle of the day in a well-lit office. It's like seeing Batman fight in the middle of the day in
But
Gotham. I just
I
remember when I saw The
didn't
Dark
even
Knight
consider that.
Rises. Yeah,
I didn't even think about that. That's a very good point. Like that, like yeah, just
yeah.
crashing into the building.
Crashing through the building middle of the day. It reminded me of when I saw The Dark Knight Rises and Batman's out there in the middle of the day fighting Bane. The sun is shining, and I was like, what is this? But I thought it was really good. We got the explanation of why Muse, uh, blanking on his name, but is so good at fighting
Right.
because he
Yes.
is a champion taekwondoist. But I also
Who
was
may or
like,
may not be killed his instructor.
yes, allegedly, but he killed him. But it felt like a grand opening, grand closing for Muse. Like we finally got to kind of lean into his motivations, which is what I had said previous episode. Like we still don't know enough about him. Like what are his motivations? What is the reason he's doing this? We got the motivation, we got the backstory, and then they killed him. And I was just like, okay. Which explains why he was kind of just a side character for the whole season because he was never meant to be the main villain, even though I which I don't know. I guess grand opening, grand closing is how I felt. You realize now that his whole existence was to move Wilson and Matt's stories forward. He was never meant to have his own story. We were never meant to care per se about him.
Like you feel like it suffer his do you feel like his character, do you feel like it suffers a little bit because of
A
that?
bit. I think they played it they're covered in the sense of Muse was already a very obscure character. And I mean even people that know his character from the comics, even those people kind of are like he doesn't have a whole lot of like obviously he does have a storyline, but it's not like they had the Joker as a side character and then killed him. Like Muse was mysterious. You didn't know a lot about him. So they made a good choice in picking him to be the side character to move the story forward. But it was just odd to me because this dude was a serial killer in this universe, just stacking bodies left and right, publicly displaying his artwork. It was weird. It was like he was a side character who was very much there,
Yes.
but they didn't focus a ton on him. And then when they finally did, he was dead 40 minutes later. So that was a little weird.
Do you wish that he would have been more of because at this point I'm trying to like okay they have talked about like in the previous seasons they dealt with the hand, so the
Yes.
hand is out there, they just don't really discuss it or talk about it much, and you still have Kingpin proper as a villain, and Bullseye is may or may not be revisited towards either these last two episodes or possibly
Let's
season
see.
two. But at least he's there. So I mean, I don't want to be like, well, that's just three. But do you feel like he should have been like as far as like how not to draw comparisons, but like this past the Batman movie with Robert Pattinson about how they did a good job as far as not killing off the Riddler. They stuck him in stuck him in Arkham. There's Joker.
Yeah, we talked about it, I think last episode or two episodes ago, about how we don't like when they kill villains.
Sure.
I think him dying would have been fine because, especially for a show that is meant to be darker, I can't say you can never kill a villain because comics have been around for years on the basis of not killing their villains. So I'm not even going to say he shouldn't have died. When you've got Wilson Fisk, when you've got Bullseye, when you've got the hand, like you said, I'm okay with him being one of the ones that ends up dying. I just felt like not right now.
Yep.
Give it. another episode or two and
Because
then do.
yeah, but I mean, like in the previous seasons, I'm remembering this right. They did kill off Jigsaw, yes.
Yes.
Okay, so I mean, like that's another one that was so good that you're just like,
Yeah.
and every time I see his freaking Verizon or whatever, I was like, oh, like
Yeah, well, sometimes a character is like so powerful, it's like you have to kill him. Like you can't,
yeah,
because it's like you can't beat him. It's like you have to kill him. But I don't know. I thought one thought I did have was we talked about how and we both agreed that calling Wilson Fisk's anti-vigilante group was odd because Punisher was kind of off the grid and Matt had been MIA. Well, sorry, Daredevil had been
right.
MIA for a year plus. It would have made more sense for Daredevil to save Angela, I think, last episode, and then be the one that was in there fighting Muse, and then have Wilson create his task force. Because now his task force has the motivation, the secret motivation to go after Daredevil. But it was just like originally, it's like you were labeling Muse as a vigilante. It's like, no, he's just a serial killer. Like now it makes sense to have that group of guys.
It's a little odd to me now with him labeling it the Anti-Vigilante Task Force, and a vigilante just helped you do your job, and you're
Right.
taking for it because Matt's not doesn't care about getting the credit for it. Like he's not like his character, him as Matt Murdock and him as Daredevil don't care about getting the credit for taking Muse off the streets. So you could just let this vigilante do your job for you and you
Right.
take it for everything that he solves for you, but now you're going to be anti-vigilante.
Yeah, yeah, because he saved Angela, which you guys wouldn't have been there to do, although, like, to be fair, they had no idea,
Right,
because she didn't tell them, but you saved her, but you're welcome. And then yeah,
right,
when he's dead now, but when he saved the therapist and she ended up killing Muse, but
right.
why not just be like, kind of like how, again, to bring it back to Batman, how in The Dark Knight, the cops were like, oh, yeah, it's an ongoing investigation. No one was actually looking for him because they realized, like, he's doing our job for us. Like, we
Right.
find the bad guys already knocked out and tied up. Like, it's the easiest arrest we got to make.
Yeah, it's basically like, well, we're not going to take this vigilante off the streets. He's doing our job for us, and we
Yeah, we
take
are
credit,
hunting for him.
and we ultimately get to take credit for it. Like,
Right. Yeah, because like you said, he's not looking for credit. He only came out of retirement because the two victims, he had a personal connection to them. So, yeah, that was interesting. I know they have their issues with vigilantes, I guess, or I guess Fisk does. I don't know if those guys really do.
right. Well, getting into that, are we pretty sure that the lead guy that we see the most now, the guy who keeps getting beat up by, but the lead guy that we see mostly now associated with the anti-vigilante task force, do we is it is it known? Does it need to be said if he is the true killer of White Tiger, or do we know this? Are we
I
guessing?
don't know. I feel like I know New Rockstars has kind of alluded to it. They are giving him a decent amount of screen time versus anyone else on the task force, like you said, except for the guy that keeps getting beat up. You have to wonder, and I know they, I think New Rockstars or maybe other people did a semi deep dive on the character that they believe he is, who has actual issues with vigilantes, but so far they haven't.
Like if they stick true to the comics, he's going to get yes, he becomes worse. Yes.
Yeah, so maybe they're just planting the seeds right now. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean it's one of those, I guess we'll see if he lives past 9.
Yeah.
He's
Now, I
right.
will say one thing that really got me was after Matt fights Muse the first time in the last episode, he has those bruises and he starts talking to his girlfriend and he kind of hits her with working at his law firm and all of this just feels fake. And us as the viewer understand what he's saying. He's working in a law firm, um, seems happy enough, is dating this woman, all of that, but he's not Daredevil. Foggy's not there. Karen is in San Francisco. But I was just like, I couldn't imagine if the person I was dating kind of just like, yeah, everything, this whole life that I'm living or whatever just feels fake. I'd have been like, okay, I'm gonna go jump off a bridge now, but you enjoy the rest of your day trying to figure out what's real. Like the way that he just said that, but then her follow-up, which was to immediately suggest therapy to him, which by all means, you're a therapist and do that. But I was like, one thing that guys cannot stand is being told that they need to go to therapy. So he just said, in essentially, being with you and everything feels fake. And then she replied with, you need to go to therapy. I was like, this is not a happy couple. This just is not great right now.
Yeah, their love seems sort of, I mean, like sort of forced right now. Like it's not
Yes.
because, and again, no shade to the characters, and but we are we are only getting to see what they show us as an
Right.
audience. Like that we only get insight into their relationship from what is being directed and produced and shown in front of us. And so far, that is missing a lot of like
Yes.
context. Like we've seen them out to eat, and we've seen them cook a meal, and we've seen them make out.
Yeah.
And we're like, hey, but is are we supposed to believe that like you're just playing like you've been playing house and everything's hunky dory and just you because we don't see it.
Yeah, I saw more chemistry with the prosecutor when he was negotiating the sentence for the guy that stole the caramel corn.
Right. Right. So I mean, like clearly he can turn on the, as the children would say, the Riz.
The
I mean, he
Riz.
could turn it on, but we haven't seen it with her.
Yeah,
I mean, and I don't know. It's like I get I get have him having a love interest because like and you saw the picture was like the picture of all of his
just
like and
just
it said
that
Matt
roster.
Murdock and it said Matt Murdock is definitely not blind.
Right.
So it's like I get it. Like part of it is like I guess, but I mean like I didn't even really get. I mean I get that he had his relationship with Elektra. Like that's a big part in the comics, but that's because it dealt with um like her like initially being sent out by the hand to try to recruit him, and that's like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And they kind of a similar background, but not in like those things. So it's like I get the love interest part of their, like why that's shown in the comics and stuff like that, and even in the show in the past seasons. But I don't feel like he needs to like. Please don't make this a thing where it's like, okay, let's say they don't work out this season. Let's say that this falls by the wayside and she's not in season 2 or whatever. Like he doesn't need another girlfriend. Just
Yeah, it's like
I
they
don't
are forcing the damsel in distress angle for the hero. The hero always needs to have the person that gets put in danger and forces him to do whatever to save her. Like, but you don't need that. If you are out saving the city and doing all of this, you don't need the damsel in distress to compromise you or do whatever. Like, we don't need it. We don't need it.
no, we don't need it because and I think a good like a good showing of that of how we don't need it is Wilson Fisk and Vanessa's relationship. It's
Yes.
a relationship we know that I mean like they were together in the previous seasons and he's been obsessed with her and he still is at least as far as we can tell, but she is certainly not a damsel in distress when it
Right.
comes to those like she has her own stuff going on. She's not just I mean she's been responsible for murdering people
Right.
like not only in those past seasons, but now this current season, like she is laying out hits. She
Yeah.
is very okay with like not running to Wilson for it and it not being like we only know Vanessa through like the eyes of how Daredevil sees her in relation to Wilson. Just like she's her own character fleshed out. We don't need her just like oh, you're always running to Wilson, like help me get out of this jam.
Right.
She's doing yeah. So I mean that's a good set. Like go ahead and let's just jump into that. The fact that towards the end of the episode, we see her type out a text saying he's at the restaurant, he's at someone's restaurant, and he's alone. And did you see that I don't want to call him the a tracksuit mafia guy because we don't know if he is or not.
We don't know if he's with him, but yeah, the guy that traditionally wears a tracksuit and is in the mafia.
And he gets the text message, the one that what Wilson had told him that he went to mayor's office and said, I'm not paying the 1.8. Wilson then tells him, no, now you're going to be responsible for paying 2.8. And when Wilson Fisk actually tells Vanessa, like, this guy came to see me and I made him now I'm going to make him pay 3 million. She was just like, oh, well, we'll see how this goes.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll see how this goes. So we find out that she sends a text to him. He shows up at the restaurant, and before he can even basically almost pull out his gun, um, I can't think of his name now. I want to call him,
Bucky.
what is his name?
Bucky.
Okay, Bucky. I almost called him Bruno.
No, sorry, Buck.
Oh, Buck. That's right. Not to be confused with James Buchanan Barnes.
Yes.
He pulls out again. He is a comic book character that
Yes.
develops into like obviously not a great guy, which is Wilson alludes to that's why he picked him is because he thinks outside the box.
Yeah.
And he saves them, and then he says to Buck, "Make sure you ask Vanessa basically if she wants me to bring anything home from the restaurant." Which you're either again, it's one of two things, maybe a third, but they're either working in tandem together to set this guy up to be killed because they knew that he wasn't like his threatening Wilson at his mayor's office was going to cause problems. Like you can't have a rogue, person out there like that who feels bolden to go threaten the mayor.
Yeah.
So either they're working in tandem and they set this up together, or she just ordered a hit on her
And his response was either A, hey, we got him, you want anything? Or B, haha, you missed.
right.
And I'm still alive.
Yeah, which I took it as, yeah, okay, yeah, that's the third option then, is she either put the hit out on him and he didn't know, so
Yeah.
he's innocently asking, what do you want for supper? Or it's a message to her saying, haha, you missed.
Yeah. What do you think?
What do I think? I would like to believe they set it up in tandem. I would like to believe it because if she did this on her own and he is aware of it, I'm not sure how much further you can go with the relationship.
Agreed.
Like
Because even though he's obsessed with her, I feel like no matter how obsessed you are with someone, once they take a hit out on you, like that should be the end of it. And one of you has to die, and I don't think it's going to be the mayor.
right. Like you're like, because I mean, like Daredevil's big nemesis is not Vanessa. Well, I mean, like it is. I mean, like he does fight her in the comics, but only through the proxy of Wilson, because of her
Right.
side of this. So, what do you think?
I think it's the first one. I think they knew kind of for the same reasons. The one I'm eliminating is that he doesn't know. It's one of two to me. It's either they did it together or she put out a hit and he knows. Because I don't think that he is naive enough to believe that the tracksuit guy would just happen to know where and when he's eating dinner by himself. Like, you don't just know that info. The reason why he rents the place out is for privacy. So to me, that one, the third one of, and plus, if you didn't know I'm sure people have taken hits out on him before, but if I'm eating dinner, my bodyguard headshots a guy from across the room and he doesn't even look up and he's just like, "Oh, ask Vanessa this." I feel like if he didn't know, he would have stood up. What the F? We need to like who's taking hits out on me? Like he would have been a lot more flustered, I guess you could say, or at least curious. Like he didn't even look up.
And I mean, you make a good point bringing up the fact that Buck was there in position ready.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's the first one or my wild card. She set it up. Buck found out and told Wilson, and he just said, "Okay, let's just play along." But like when he gets here, shoot him. But I again, like I think Wilson knew. I think he knew, but it's either he and Vanessa planned it or Vanessa truly planned it and Buck intercepted it. But again, I agree with you. If that is what happened, what's going to happen with Wilson and Vanessa? Because you don't just move on from that. So I
It's
think
like,
it's the first one.
yeah. Plus, it's like we have seen glimpses of Buck carrying out orders from Vanessa.
Exactly. So like, did she tell him? But he's like, oh yeah, definitely. This is where he'll be eating dinner. By the way, Wilson, your wife put out a hit on you.
Right, right, right. Yeah, because yeah, it needs. We've got 2 episodes. I'm hoping that they clear that up. That there's some sort because I mean his option is what throwing her in the dungeons
Yeah,
and
I think they planned it, or she said it. It was together a setup, and I think it was her attempt of like, this is why you need to either A, let me run things, or B, you need to get back to being who you were. Because she's like giving him one last chance to show you, like, you look weak to these people. We're
right,
gonna take this guy out to send a message, but I'm
right,
letting you know people have come to me about taking you out. Like, I think that this is her letting him know because clearly she's not okay with how things are going either. She's made that very clear. I feel like to me, she's letting Wilson know they planned it together, and this is her "see, I told you so" moment, and this is her last offer to him of like, get back to how you were, because the next time around, I might not, let you
right.
know.
Like be glad I intercepted this guy.
Yeah,
Like I'm the one that ran interference on this guy, and that I'm the one. Be glad I'm the one that set up the hit because the
yeah.
next time, yeah. I
But yeah,
mean,
they did a good job of leading it up for interpretation and then kind of just ending the episode there.
I have seen. um I mean, like Twitter's always full of like pictures that or like images that haven't played out yet on the series, and I have seen one of everybody at a big dance,
Everyone, what?
like everybody at like a big ball,
Oh,
and you see Wilson dancing with Heather and Matt is dancing with Vanessa.
oh.
I mean, like spoiler. I mean, I can't say spoiler because I mean, like we haven't seen it. We don't even know if it's going to be used. I've just seen that picture on Twitter before. Um, so
I mean, they did a good job we had talked about a few episodes back when we knew that Muse was going to see Matt's girlfriend, and we also knew that obviously Heather. Yeah, so we knew that Muse was going to see Heather, and we knew that Heather was also Wilson and Vanessa's therapist. So we knew that all of their paths would intersect eventually. Muse was the vessel for that, obviously. Now that it's kind of out there and Wilson knows he's back, and obviously, if they're pulling everything from the original series, Vanessa knows who Matt is as well, because she was in the room when Matt was beating the crap out of Wilson at the end of season 3. So they all have their connections. Muse kind of kick-started the fire. I am very curious now how all of that, I guess, blossoms in the last 2 episodes,
right,
because he's back and Wilson knows who he is. So it's like,
right, and because we know there's going to be a season two already, this is not going to end happy.
Correct. They can leave it on a very violent or terrible cliffhanger, knowing that they can resolve whatever happens in season two.
Before they start up more horribleness, because I'm sure it's going to be renewed for season three. Like
Yeah.
so it's the thing. It's like we know whatever's going to happen in these next two episodes. It's not going to end good.
It's
Like
not going to be resolved.
no, no, and there quite possibly will be somebody killed.
Yes.
That's because Heather wasn't killed. So you
Lost
that
a lot of blood, but she wasn't
lost a lot
killed.
of blood. But I mean, there's Cherry out there. I mean, you're not going to kill the Ayala girl. Like you're not going to kill her because they
Yeah.
are like clearly alluding to the fact that she's going to be in one of the champions. But like, there are still people close to him. I mean, I don't. We don't know. We
It
don't
could
know.
be his Kirsten, his business law partner or business law, his lawyer partner who is obviously not happy with him because seems like anytime they're in the middle of a conversation, somebody comes and he like kicks her out of her own office. Like the detective guy, the young Ayala girl, I forget who else, but it's just like anytime that they are working, Matt's like, "Oh yeah, can you give us a minute?" and just brushes her off. Like maybe she's going to die.
I don't know if it was this last episode or the episode before, but they made a point of showing her face when
Twice. They did it with the Ayala girl and then they did it with the detective guy.
Cherry.
Like they are panning the camera over to her every
Yes.
time he's like, why don't you give us the room?"
Yeah, I found that a little like, okay, there's a point to that shot. Like there's
Yeah.
a reason that you keep scanning to her for a reason, and we've yet to see how that manifests and what it plays out.
Is she leaving
So
the law firm? Is Matt leaving the law firm? But clearly the two people that are like at this law firm that work well together, there's a fracture now. And they are focusing on that or alluding to it, I guess.
great. Yes, and we have yet to see the big blow up confrontation about that. If there even is one, she might go to confront him and be shot. We have no idea.
Yeah.
We have no idea. Like that might just be another unresolved. He's lost another ball.
Right.
So overall, before we get into the letter grades, how do you like good? Like you're leaning towards good. It moved the story forward. Didn't move the story forward.
I thought it was really good. It moved the story forward. My only downside is I don't disagree with finally giving Muse the spotlight and then killing him. That was like, if I look at the episode, I think that was my biggest gripe. And it wasn't a huge one because you can justify killing him. Again, like I said, he was not the main character. His sole purpose was to get things started and start things. Things are going downhill. His whole existence was to get the wheels moving. I get it. I wish we got a little bit more of him, but that I think to me, if I remember correctly, that was really the only issue I had with the episode.
So, what grade would you give it? Again, we go letters. We do plus and minuses, so that way, because sometimes it's a little bit.
I'm gonna give this one a B plus. I am not really like conflicted when it comes to the minus or plus. It's not an A for me, which I might not hit an A all season, which I'm okay with. I think this is a B plus. It's very close to an A minus, but I give it a B plus.
I'm with you. I agree. I think B plus. I think this is one of the first ones that we like super agree. Like we've always been like,
Yeah,
yeah, B plus. I definitely think I like I said, I'm with you as far as I feel like they are like, oh Muse, we hardly knew you. Like it's
right.
like unfortunately, I wish we would have gotten more of the therapy scenes with him that were
Yes,
outside of him just jumping to
yes,
instantly here. Like what was his obsession with her? Like clearly he had been obsessed with her for a while because they find the drawings of her, which don't even get me started on how Matt figured out that was her face. Like,
yeah. Okay, that was one little gripe I had. Like, I get that he did the whole face touching thing, but come on, dude. There's no way a textured painting you were able to put that. Get out of here. Not a chance.
no, no. So like it was okay. Oh, okay. We're suspending disbelief here, but yeah, no, like I said, I wish we would have gotten a little bit more as far as, and again, I get it because, like you said earlier, clearly now Muse is just the catalyst to to propel us into what the actual conflict and the showdown between or the real characters of who we're going to see. Because I still hold out hope that we're going to see another Frank Castle appearance. So like maybe that would have been if you would have thrown Muse all the way to 9, that would have been too much. It would have been like just too much going on. So maybe there is a point in getting rid of him early. It's just I wish
I
like
thought the robbery episode, that one was very much focused on Matt. It was like I said, almost a bottle episode because the whole thing took place like inside the bank.
right,
I would have been nice if while Matt was having that adventure, Heather was having a normal session with me. Like I thought the same thing. You finally have a session with him, and within 10 minutes, he's laid out his master plan. It would have been nice if there was a normal session where we knew
right.
who Muse was. She was maybe a little not creeped out because she's
Or
a
just
therapist,
things
but
that he would say, like she'd be like, "Oh, that seems a little
exactly. But the session ends and everybody's still alive with no cuts.
right."
You put it into that episode. So you've got the robbery, over here, the A story, and then the B story is a therapy session. That I would have loved that. I 100% agree.
100% with you. I think that would have not only that would have helped move that story along to get to when we got to that episode to be like, oh, okay, yes, this is he already has ties to her. He's been obsessed with like yeah, have the therapy session, then have him go back or him give him her a picture like I painted this for you,
Right.
or that kind
Yes.
of stuff or him go back to his lair and you see him
Then you
painting
see him start painting or
with
something.
the victim laying on the table and painting her
Right.
face and you're like, oh, okay, that's a little.
Yes.
But like I said, it just like I said that I agree with you. It's we just we they used Muse they used Muse and then it was just like it was over so fast. It was like, oh, okay, there's so much more you could have done with
Yeah.
it, and still had this episode be this episode, but have given us more previous, so we
Yeah. There was
knew.
would have been more depth to it.
Yeah, so when we got to this episode, we were like, "Whoa, that was fun." But now we
Yeah.
know it's a springboard onto more stuff. So yeah, I agree with you. I think B plus is about it's fair. I think 8 and 9 should be pretty interesting because again, now that Muse is gone and Muse is gone, you've got Vanessa making plays either with or without his knowledge. You've got Daredevil kind of back on the streets, owning it.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
curious about that. Now that he's put the suit on twice, is he just like, well, this is my calling?
and Wilson knowing that he's put his suit back on and that he broke that promise
He said there
to
will be
him. So
consequences.
yeah, so we'll get that. But again, because we know there's a season 2, we're not expecting and when I say we're not expecting to end great, we're not saying it's going to be a bad series. We are saying that it's not going to end on a high note. At least it
Right.
shouldn't.
I
Like it
agree.
could, but it shouldn't.
If you know that you've got a season 2 already greenlit, you should, in this season, with just a gut-wrenching, you don't have to tie things up in a nice bow. Just in case it doesn't get renewed. The mouse has given you a season 2.
Right.
Tear our hearts out and
Right.
end the
Right.
season.
Right. That's or do that in do Game of Thrones, do it in episode 8 and have
Yeah.
9 rolling towards whatever season 2 is going to bring. But either way, it shouldn't end good.
Yes.
But
I
yeah.
could not agree more.
So we will be back to this is Monday, tomorrow's Tuesday, it'll be on tomorrow night. And we will certainly be around to discuss that one and give our letter grades, and we're moving towards family.
Yes.
It's very exciting. So until then, we will talk to you later. Bye.
I'll see ya.